Hi everyone, I'm excited about today's video where I'm going to give you a look inside of my first practice session of the day, my warm-up and my fundamental routine. My hope is not that you'll copy my routine and do exactly as I do, as we're all a little bit different and require different things. But my hope is that this session will get you to think about ways that you can maximize and develop your own warm-up and fundamental routine as a cornerstone to improve your overall playing. For me, when I began to take this session seriously, I began to gain traction as a trumpet player. By pressing the restart button every day, starting over, rebuilding my sound, and addressing weaknesses, it's just been essential in my consistency and has laid the foundation for lifelong learning and improvement. I know that it can do the same for you. Sometimes there are negative connotations associated with a warm-up or a routine. Things like whether or not to buzz the mouthpiece or play pedal tones, or whether you should do long tones or moving long tones. I've studied the various schools of thought and have determined that everyone is basically saying the same thing, but in different ways. So again, throughout this process, you're finding what works best for you. I've always been open-minded enough to experiment and discover what works for me, which is again my hope for you. So it should be noted that my routine is not the same thing day in and day out. In fact, it's important that you change things up and evolve as you progress so that you can address your weaknesses. But the one constant thing for me over the years that has not changed has been the process of rebuilding my sound each and every day. I'll talk a little bit more about that later in this video. So my first session of the day is not just warming up and getting ready for the day, but it's also integrating exercises that address weaknesses in my playing, as you'll see that unfold in my routine. For me, I use a few basic things for my first session of the day: a metronome, tuner, a timer app. I use the Seconds Pro timer app to keep me on schedule, and I use various method books, most of which at this point are in my head from many years of doing this. My current warm-up and fundamental routine takes me a little under an hour. It's important to note that the horn is not on my face for the entire hour, as I rest as much as I play throughout the routine. I also play very easy throughout the entire session. For me, I get a better result that way. Currently, I have 7 phases that I'm working in this first session, and I'll explain and demonstrate each one. Phase 1, which is mouthpiece buzzing, lead pipe exercises, and breathing exercises, which takes me about 5 minutes. It can include some mezzo piano mouthpiece buzzing, simple breathing exercises, and light lead pipe playing. To use a singer's term, I like to take a falsetto approach to these, or a head voice approach. I'm trying to naturally and easily buzz with a real focus of alleviating any tension in my body. Same thing with a lead pipe, mezzo piano, easy playing, just to get loose. The following are a couple of exercises that I might do during this phase. In phase 2, flow and maxing out range, I like to gradually and systematically warm up the entire horn. My first notes, I like to bend around a little bit in an effort to find the center of the sound. To me, playing in the center is the key to playing with a beautiful sound. My first notes look something like this. After I bend around and feel comfortable with playing down the center of the horn, I like to expand with more flow. My go-tos are a mixture of stamp, Cichowicz, and Plog flow studies. Then I like to expand and systematically max out range in a very easy and controlled way. If I'm maxed out to third space C during the flow portion, I will pick an exercise to get me to the D flat, and if I'm comfortable with the D flat, I'll graduate to the D and so forth. As I max out, I mix it up with a variation on stamp or with scale type work. If I skip this step and try to jump in too fast, it doesn't set me up well for later in the day. Let me demonstrate some things that I would do during this session. So after the first two phases, I'm basically warmed up, and it's at this point that I begin to address weaknesses. After phase 2, I take a 3-minute break. Phase 3, which is single tongue articulation, where I focus in on single tonguing for 2 minutes. Here I'm focusing on building my articulation around my sound. Let me demonstrate some exercises that I might do during this 2-minute phase. Phase 4 is what I call Scheherazade tonguing, where I focus in on doing 4 minutes of double tonguing exercises. It's amazing what you can get accomplished in 4 minutes. Sometimes I'll isolate an Arvin exercise and start slowly and gradually increase tempo. Let me demonstrate some things that I might do during this 4-minute phase. Phase 5 is also called Scheherazade tonguing, but this time I focus in on triple tonguing, which for me is a weakness that I have to address regularly. Let me demonstrate some exercises that I might do during this 4-minute period. So phase 6 I call low G's. Low G's and low notes in general terrify me if I don't address them. So I address those insecurities here for about 3 minutes. It usually sets me up pretty well for the rest of the day. Here are some examples of some things that I might do to address my lower register. Phase 7 is finger exercises. It's another particular weakness that if I don't address daily, it's really sloppy quickly. I rarely play during this phase as I find these exercises work just as well without playing so that you can save a little face for the rest of the day. I'm doing about 5 minutes of finger exercises to get set up for the day with a particular emphasis on the third finger. Some of my go-tos include Clark Etude number 2, starting slow and working up to quarter note equals 144. In Whiff Rudd's collaborative practice book, he has a cool little third finger exercise on page 50 that I like to do. Also, Alan Vizzuti exercises are in the rotation here as well. Let me demonstrate. And that's basically it. In and out in less than an hour. I typically feel really great after this and feel confident about the rest of the day. There is no need to re-warm up throughout the day. You're set. I hope you find this helpful. If so, please press the like button. I would appreciate it. Also, every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm releasing new videos, all things trumpet. If you're enjoying the content, please press the subscribe button. Again, it means a lot. If you have any questions about any of this, don't hesitate to reach out, and thanks for joining me.